Hey everyone, welcome to my latest episode. In previous several episodes, we talk about how to configure local repository, cloud repository, Power BI workspace to enable a full modern Power BI development lifecycle. And we have gone through much in detail, for example, how to set up this, how to require the permission. It's very fine grained. Sometimes when you folks zoom in too much, you may lose the whole picture. So today, let's just relax and enjoy the zoom out effect. So we're going to talk about framework instead of the detailed configuration. Framework most cover why we should do that in a way and what we're trying to achieve. So modern Power BI lifecycle development is really enabled from our dashboard files to automate develop ops framework. Today, we're going to focus on the enterprise level, the solution to your team when you develop Power BI project. So let's get started. There are 3 steps in this framework. The first step or the first setup is about version control. Version control has been in the software development for a long time and is no magic on top of that. Version control just make sure for each of the version you are committed, you have a copy of it. So simple as that. So that's why in the past, Power BI team, they use a file structure. For example, you save each of the version as PBIX and with a different name, for example, date timestamp, and you shuffle them into a folder, either a local or SharePoint. And this is your version control. This version control is great, but not enough. Why is that? The first thing you notice that PBIX is a self-contained format. If you open that PBIX into, for example, Notepad++, it's a binary file. It's very hard to track the changes. And each of the changes, you need to review that from different files. So this really gives you a difficult time to review from each of the version what is the difference. You may say, I provide a thorough description for that file. Yes, but manual recording can be error prone. So we are seeking a more streamlined method to track changes to the code base whenever you make changes. This is why Microsoft introduced a PBIP format. PBIP is not a file format, it's a file structure format. What it does is expose the binary file of PBIX into a folder structure, and inside each of folder, there's many text files. So text file is the key component for version tracking, because version tracking to the file level doesn't do anything good. Only until you can track the code to the line level, what change to this line to the other line. This will enable a whole horizon opportunity for developers. So that's why Microsoft provide this new format, file structure format. Inside this file structure, we can see many different text format files. For example, you can see the TMDL for the table, JSON for the report, and also JSON for the model. That's why when you're about to make changes to, for example, the visual change, it will only capture in the change in the report. And if you are making a new table, add a new measure, it will be the change tracked in the model. So segregate the changes and make it more trackable to the line level of your code. That's why it makes the code difference is very easy to spot. And also, since it's decoupled, the internal architecture of your Power BI, everything is very easy to understand and read. Enable the project format is the first step in your framework, which is just a proper version control. At stage 2, what we're trying to focus is that most of the case, we have multiple developers for Power BI project. In a given time, you can have 2 different developers working on the same report, but they just in charge of different parts. For example, developer A may be just going to the Power BI report to fix a bug because the footer, the font is wrong. And you have developer B who is trying to develop a new page for a new request. And all the time, you may have to wait until either of the development finish their work, the other one take the journey on and start from that point. So this is really like say make your development life cycle is really long and also inefficient. But if you are using the Git method version control, you all have different branches. With this different branch strategy, you can have developer A just working on the bug fix branch, developer B working on a feature branch. And at some point, They just need to make a pull request to the main branch. And after the pull request is being made, the pull request will going through some automation testing, for example, validation on the DAX and also the model logic. Once the logic is done, the merge is automatically happen to the main. Enable the version control is not only enable the version tracking, but also enable a multi-developer environment. In our case, is the collaboration. Both they're able to talk to the cloud base, make frequent commit as they wish, and at a certain point, they just make a pull request. And a pull request is protected by the automated testing and validation. If both testing and validation are failed, the merge won't happen. Your production, which is a UAT, won't have any impact. So that's why in a continuous integration pipeline, this yellow stage is very important. And most the thing for this whole enablement is the version controlling. So stage 2, we have gone through that continuous integration. Let's come to the last. We have a very robust development framework for how you develop different bug fix and features to one report. We haven't talked about how you make the last mile delivery happen. So this is where the continuous deployment come into play. In this continuous deployment stage, we're mainly focusing on how to make your UAT branch available for user to do the testing. For example, we can configure a Power BI workspace using the Workspace Git Integration to link to a branch in your repository, and then use the Power BI service deploying pipeline feature to deploy your report from a UAT workspace to a prod workspace. This direction make the environment very consistent, and also you can have the rollback as your backup. For example, if something wrong, we can just make change to the UAT and redo and deployment. We can stay in the past, which is a safer version. And the different workers, they can still work on their side branch, make branch, and also pull requests to the main. And then after that, this will link to your UAT workspace. In the UAT workspace, you can invite many users from different perspective, different area to join the test. They can be the final users. It can be another developers. They can also be another supervisors. Once the UAT is tested, approved, signed off, you can make a push button from the UAT to the prod. So each of the link is controlled by a menu push. So that's the safeguard we're having in this continuous deployment flow. And today we talk about the framework of modern Power BI development lifecycle, mainly 3 stages. First is enable the version control. Second, enable the collaboration by continuous integration. Third, we're doing the deploying pipeline to enhance our continuous deployment. So that concludes today's session. Hope you enjoy it. Leave any comments if you like. See you guys in the next one.